Welcome back to episode 6 of the Vegan Bikini Prep Diaries. Today, we are going to be talking about 10 tips on how to support your competitor in your life that's going through prep right now. You're gonna want to stick around till the end where I share an extra bonus tip and details on how to enter this week's giveaway. Trust me, if you're a competitor, you're going to want to share this video with somebody who's supporting you. So a couple of things before we get started. This is my husband George, and he's been supporting me since the very beginning of my competition journey. This will be our 5th season doing this together, so he's a very big part of my success.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure too, it doesn't apply just to a husband and wife team doing a bikini competition. It could be a parent, it could be a spouse, it could be a sibling, friend, roommate, whatever it is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be bikini. These tips are going to apply to really any category and anybody that's really dieting for a physique competition.
So George was the first one to actually diet down for a bodybuilding competition, and he was the one that inspired me to get into competing. So he actually has like a very good understanding of what it takes for me to get to extreme levels of leanness.
I did compete. It wasn't pretty. I didn't do very well, but it did give me an understanding of dieting, what it feels like to be hungry, and all of those things. So it really has helped knowing, what it's like to be in her shoes during a competition prep. So the other important thing that I want to mention is that I'm not perfect. I'm not sitting here and pretending like I have all the answers or I'm some expert in supporting someone through prep. I have done it a few times, and more than anything, I've made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of lessons through going through this, and those are lessons that we want to share with you.
So before we get started on all the tips, it's very important if you're a competitor to explain your why to your loved ones, friends, and family. It's very important for them to understand what it is that you're about to embark on and what prep is. Some of these family members and friends might not even know what bodybuilding is, and you need to educate them.
Yeah, this is important because things might happen like the holiday dinners and they're like, well, why can't you eat this? Or why can't you come out and have drinks with us? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? So explain what you're doing and why it's important to you, and then you're more likely to have those people on your side throughout this prep.
So after doing prep for so many years, George and I have developed a checklist where we kind of sit through everything and make sure that we're in a financial place to start a prep, that I am mentally ready to start a prep, that I'm physically ready to start a prep. And we go through this checklist and make sure that everything's in place because it is very important, It's a huge deal, so you want to make sure that all of your boundaries and everything are set beforehand.
Okay, so the time has come. You've explained to your loved ones why this is important to you. You've sat down with your support system and you've agreed you're ready to start prep. Now it's time to get into the tips. So the first tip I put as tip number 1 because it is the most important tip and it's actually a matter of safety. So tip number 1 is don't ever touch their food. So I first learned this in, 2 seasons ago? 3 seasons ago?
It was in 2019.
And so 2019 season. So this wasn't even our first season, so no. I should have known better. But
it was like a 3rd season.
Yeah, we'd done it before. We're getting ready to eat dinner, and both of our plates are on the counter, and Natalie's over getting something to drink or whatever, and I look at her plate, and I'm like, well, that looks kind of good. I wonder there's like a little morsel that was like half fallen off the plate. And so I grabbed it. I didn't think she was going to see it. And as I was reaching up to sample her food, I don't know if she sensed it or saw it out of the corner of her eye, but she made eye contact with me. And it was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Something snapped inside of her and she looked like a wild animal. And she started, this is the true story. She started like charging from across the kitchen, like full speed coming at me, and I'm like got the morsel of food. I'm like a deer in headlights. I don't know what to do. And luckily, what she didn't realize is there was a drawer pulled out that, like, I don't know if it was the silverware drawer or whatever it was, but she didn't even see it because she just saw red. And so full speed, she runs into this drawer and it like takes her out. And luckily it did because it snapped her out of whatever she was possessed by. She came back to life after that. And I felt bad because then she had this huge bruise on her leg and she had to like go on stage with that. But we learned this valuable lesson about like just do not touch their food. So I don't care if it's the plate's in the dishwasher and you're sure that they're done with it, or it's fallen on the floor, or it's in the garbage disposal. Like, under no circumstance, just don't get your own food because you don't want to play with this. As funny of a story as that is, it's actually like a true thing that happens. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Minnesota starvation experiment, which is something, I don't know when I first heard about it. It was like on a podcast or something. But basically what happened in World War II, they took a bunch of conscientious objectors and they wanted to find out the impacts of hunger on people mentally and physically and all that kind of stuff, because there was so much hunger going on in the world at that time. So they took these, I think it was like 38 volunteers, and for 6 months they were in this university in Minnesota, just basically on a starvation diet to see how it impacted them. And the goal was for them to lose 25% of their body weight. So even like a lot more than what we're talking in prep. But some of the similarities apply. And if you look at the whole study, there's actually some interesting parallels between this study and a competition prep. But one of the things that they found, and I'll just read it here, is that during meal times, participants were recorded becoming possessive over their food. Worried that others may try to eat their meals, they would guard their food defensively with their elbows. And at meal times, participants were recorded eating all the food on their plates to the last crumb and licking their plates clean. So something actually happens like deep inside the brain, like an instinct to protect your food in this state. So this is not something you do not want to F around and find out with taking some food from your person.
In my defense, I wasn't starving, but it was very deep into prep where you're very food focused and kind of food consumed. So yeah, I don't know what came over me. I am not like that, but it's also like not an excuse for me to be snappy like that either. So it's something that I've learned from, and I'm definitely not proud of, because I was like, what just happened? And this is so unlike me. But yeah, it's something that I'm very mindful of now, and I will never do it again. So yeah, it happened that one time, and that was.
So what were you gonna do if the drawer wasn't there to stop you? What was?
I don't know. All I was thinking is like every macro counts. I was like, that's gains right there, and you're eating my gains. That's all I saw. So thank God for the drawer.
Okay, so if you are with a bikini competitor, somebody getting ready for stage, you're gonna start hearing about this tie-in. They're going to ask you about it all the time. It may be in the form of they're going to turn around and contort their body in a strange way and ask if you can see their tie-in. So tip number 2 is to learn what a tie-in is. I'm going to be honest, I went probably 4 seasons and I had no idea what she was talking about. She would show me pictures of like a lineup and be like, oh man, look at the tie-ins. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good set of tie-ins there. I had literally no clue what it was, and she would ask me about this at least 3 times a day. It would come up in a lot of talk about it. So just learn what it is, and we have Natalie here to explain it for us once and for all, so all of you wondering can figure out what a tie-in is.
So we'll put it up in the screen, but it's basically where the glute muscle meets your hamstring muscle, and it kind of sometimes looks like a little cone shape, and that tie-in for women is super hard, and for males too. But in the bikini category, we want to see clear signs of a tie-in, but we don't want like striated tie-ins, and that just means that they're edged in. So there's a really fine balance. You want to like see them, but almost look like poppy, not like a bodybuilder's tie-in. So it's really important for our category because it shows true signs that you are stage lean. That's the last bit of fat that tends to go when we're in a dieting phase.
Yeah, and like we said before, we didn't want this video to only be about bikini. And so for each category, there is their version of tie-ins. It might be striated glutes. It might be their X-frame, their quad sweep, whatever it is. So learn what that is for your category, because you're going to get a lot of questions on it, and just having an understanding helps you support your person. All right, on the next tip, along with the tie-ins about getting questions constantly about that, you're going to start to get a lot of other different questions. And what's going to happen with your person if you see them dieting is they're going through a lot of stress, they're hungry, there's all these things going on, and there's a lot of pressure on them to look a certain way. So you might be familiar with, they wake up and they think they're looking phenomenal. They're going to be the next Miss Bikini Olympia. There's nothing, stopping them. And then a couple hours later, you may find them in the corner somewhere crying about how they should never even compete because they look so bad. And it's going to go back and forth like this all the time. And you're going to get caught in the crossfire of this when they come to you and they start asking you questions like, how do I look? So tip number 3 is always tell them they look great. That's it. That's your only answer. That is the only thing that you can say, no matter what it is, because they're going to ask you about how do I look? Do I look dry? Do I look full? Do all these things that I have no idea what any of those things even mean. So all you do is tell them they look great and then follow that up with a question, which is, what does your coach say? So that's it. You have one response from now on because you do not want to say the wrong thing because sometimes it's a trap. They're going to come to you and be like, do I look full? When they're not supposed to look full because for whatever reason. So you just don't even know. So just, you look great and that's it.
Because I want his feedback, but yeah, he's right. He doesn't know what the category even is. He doesn't know what I'm supposed to be looking like day by day. That is my coach's job. So yeah.
Yeah, you're there to support and that's it.
Yeah.
And that really brings us into our next tip. Tip number 4 is don't be a coach and don't be a judge. Like I was just saying, it's your job to just support them and tell them they look great. Like, I don't know anything about coaching. Like, I have some basic understanding of like how someone can diet, but when it starts getting deeper into prep and all of those things, it's not something that I know about. So what's important is that you and your competitor person, you find a coach that you trust and that is going to do the right thing for your competitor. And then you put your trust in that coach. So don't get involved in that relationship at all. It shouldn't be you in the middle of, I think you should do more cardio, or I don't know about those macros. I don't know about this or that. Because then they're going to question it and then they're not going to stick to the plan. They're not going to execute the way they're supposed to. And that's just going to cause problems with you, your person, and the coach. So stay out of the way. Let the coach.
Part 2 of this is let the judges judge. You, again, are not educated enough to know what it is that they're looking for, to know the criteria. You're not a judge. You're not on that judging table. They get a prime look at us. You could be 10 seats behind and you're not going to get the same look as the judges. So just know that, you are biased. This is your person. You have a lot of love for them. And you're going to always think that they're the best looking on stage and that they deserve to win no matter what. But guess what? Everybody up there deserves to win. Everybody up there is giving it their all. No matter what they bring on stage, that is their personal best. So let the judges do their job and don't be a hater on show day.
Okay, tip number 5 is be ready for prep brain and be patient.
This is a real thing.
So prep brain happens. The brain needs a lot of calories to function properly. And when people don't have those calories, the brain does some funny things. So some of the things that you can expect while supporting your person is opening the fridge to find keys or purses or anything else that may not belong in the fridge. You're going to constantly watch your person walk into a room and totally forget what they're doing.
You're making me look so bad.
And then one of the other ones that's huge is you're going to tell them the same thing over and over and over again, and they're going to swear that you never told them. So number 1 is just be patient. Like, no, that's going to happen. Know that they're not operating on, all cylinders here. And that part of it too is that they're stressed, their mind's in other places, and they have a lot of managers. Like, prep is a full-time job. So just think of that. And then plus they're hungry and their brain's just not working right. So be patient with them, do your best, and then rely on your systems. So we have like a weekly calendar meeting where we sit down and we go through what we have going on that week. We have checklists, we have all of those things. So rely on those systems so that when you've got a work function to go to that you've told your person about 200 times, that it's not a surprise on the day of and they're like, oh, you never told me that. Like, you got to make it's in the calendar.
Yeah, prep brain can be different from person to person. I experience a lot of brain fog, and this is towards the end of prep. I just don't think quite right, or I can't even say the words or the sentences that I'm normally wanting to say. And I already struggle with the second language thing, So add this on top of the list. But yeah, just be patient with them. One thing that I really like to do on show day is I set timers for like food, for like, you got to be here on this time, you got to be here on that time, because I will forget. There's so much excitement going around these days that sometimes, like peak week, where your checklist becomes even more bigger. Having like a timer is just key.
Yeah,
Like,
don't leave it to your memory
yeah,
because it's going to
yeah,
fail you over and
just
over again.
prep for success, you know, with everything that you do.
Tip number 6 is do some sympathy cardio. When your person is prepping, a lot of your social life and what you're used to, going out on dates, doing these things, kind of goes away. Number one, they can't eat. Number two, a lot of times they just don't have the energy or the time because of, like I said, prep is a full-time job. So if you want to spend time with your person, a good time to do it is to just go and do the cardio with them. So it could be walking around to get steps. It could be incline walks on the treadmill. Whatever it is, go and do it. And this has a lot of benefits we found. Number one, it's time that you get to spend together. Number two, misery loves company. They're out there having to go through this cardio, and it can be long cardio. I mean, you've done what, up to an hour of cardio before?
Yeah, I've done up to 90 minutes sometimes.
Yeah, 90 minutes of cardio.
Yeah, like I have preps where we had double 90 minutes, so, and
Yeah.
not for long, but yeah, it's definitely have happened.
So that's 3 hours out of the day that they're doing cardio, and that's 3 hours that you could be spending with them, talking to them, encouraging and stuff like that. Like we had, I'll never forget in Houston, having to actually like push her down the street, like to get her to move. And I was glad I was able to do that for her, and I was just glad that I was able to spend that time with her. So, you know, it's not as exciting as going to a restaurant and having fun or having drinks if that's what you're into, but it is time that you get to spend together, and it lets your person know that you're there for them and helping them out and helping them through those dark and challenging times.
Definitely, I had some moments where in prep, you're just like, oh my gosh, can I even take one more step, you know? And it doesn't happen with every prep, but the preps that has happened, he's right there next to me. And that is so encouraging just to have him there. And yeah, like have conversations when we're in the treadmill or just doing our daily walks, because it takes my mind off of it and it feels really nice.
And the other thing too is it's good. Cardio is great for anybody, so go out and get some steps in. And the same thing too with the diet. You can be a participant in the diet. Like you don't have to go to the extremes that they go to, but everyone can probably clean up their diet a little bit, and you can be on board and prep food together and do all of that together. Eat out of your Tupperware with them so that they feel like you're there with them going through this. And you know, don't be going out and like having drinks in front of them or doing whatever if that's what they're into. It's not a nice thing to do. Like if I'm going to go, like when she's in prep and I want to have some donuts or some things, I'll just sneak it. I'll go out of the house and do it. Not even like it never happened. Like she's never even going to know about it. Just because it's not nice to eat in front of them. You know, it's just not a nice thing to do. So keep that in mind. Be there for sympathy cardio, sympathy diet. Just be there to support them.
Yeah, the levels of dieting that I do are very extreme. And like George says, he doesn't need to go to those extreme levels. But it's kind of nice when we get to, well, I do the meal prepping, but when I can do the meal prep for both of us and still enjoy meals in together, like even though I'm eating everything like very in control, he's there with me. So again, it just feels nice, and not everybody needs to do that, and it's going to depend on person to person again, because you might have a family, so you can't expect your children to diet with you, but you know what I mean.
Tip number 7 is don't engage. So this one's actually the hardest one for me and the one that I have to work on the most. Natalie is the world's nicest, like kindest, sweetest person, but even she gets a case of the hangers. Like we already talked about how she tried to attack me over a morsel of food.
Once.
But every once in a while, she'll be a little bit crankier than usual because, again, they're tired. They haven't eaten. They've got a lot on their mind. They're stressed. They're worried about how they're going to perform. There's a lot going on. So they might say something to you. They might, like little things that aren't a big deal in normal life may become a big deal. And so as their person, don't engage. Like let it go. Take a breath. Walk away. Just don't engage and like make these deals into a bigger deal. It's hard. Like sometimes you just want to, I'm not the type of person that's known for keeping my mouth shut when these things happen, but I've really worked on it because it just doesn't help. Like I said, they're already in a rough spot. They're fragile. And then if you cook off on them, it's just going to make everything worse. They're going to get upset. And then there's a response in their body too that happens that's important to know about with cortisol. So if you spike their cortisol, which is stress hormone, by yelling at them or telling them off because you thought they were being grumpy, their body's going to retain water. All of these things are going to happen. And at the level of competition where every single percent matters and they're so lean, like a spike in cortisol can destroy their physique. An example of this, something to think about, is you know, you're traveling to go to the competition, and for us, driving into LAX and traffic on the 405 is going to be the worst thing ever. You're going to be getting cut off, and then you get there and your flight's delayed and they lose your bags. Just try to keep it together, like really keep it together, because if you just start getting all stressed out, it's going to get your person stressed out, and then it's going to affect their physique. And all this hard work they did for months, you can ruin it in a couple minutes by, you know, losing your mind in the airport because they lost your bags. Just be that person there that they look to when they're stressed and they're worried, that they're like, oh, well, George is over there. He's got it together. Like, this isn't so bad. Like, be their rock. Like, do the best you can to do that. And again, I'm the first one to admit I make mistakes with this, and I'm not perfect, but it's something I've really tried to do, that I've learned to work on over the 5 preps.
Yeah, and we should add to this too, like, don't use that as an excuse to go off. I am aware that I've done it a few times. I'm aware that I have snapped or been hangry, but like George says, it's something that we use as a learning experience, and because we've done it year after year, we look for those patterns and we're like, okay, we're not going to do this. We're going to be in control of our emotions, but it is something that could happen. So yeah, just don't use it as an excuse to be a jerk.
Hey, don't be
You know?
Prepzilla.
Yeah, this is the person that's supporting you, so don't be a jerk to them. And yeah, like he says, like everything shows in your body when you're stressed and when you're that lean. So we're talking about extreme levels of leanness for those that are not used to seeing that. It looks super impressive, but like any little bit of food or stress or anything changes your physique hour by the hour. It's pretty crazy, pretty cool to watch. You're just kind of like a science experiment. But yeah, keep those stress levels as low as possible. You know, do your yoga, do your meditation, take a couple deep breaths. But yeah, it's very important.
Okay, so tip number 8 is to know when to pull the plug. When you're watching your person go through prep, there's a certain amount of discomfort that they have to go through to get to the level of leanness that's required for prepping. And some of the things that in day-to-day life would not be normal are actually normal in prep. So you can give some examples of some of those things.
So you have to remember that we're getting to levels of very low body fat, very extreme levels of low body fat. It might not necessarily be super healthy, but for some, we might lose our period. Not everybody. Some girls are very lucky to keep their period throughout their whole entire prep, but most of us, we lose it for a very short period of time until we get back to a healthy level of body fat. When you're super lean, you get cold, like I said before, food focus, tired, very fatigued. You have to push those workouts when you are so tired. It is normal to get to those levels in order to reach that level of leanness. So you have to set your boundaries beforehand. Like, how far are you willing to go? And have that conversation with your loved one. And when to pull the plug is extremely important, because you don't want to risk your health, your relationships, your life. What if your job is suffering? You know, what if you are broke at some point? So you need to make sure that you set these boundaries first and know that your person is going to keep you accountable and pull you out when you need to.
Yeah, it's very important, as the person watching this from the other side, is they get these prep goggles, they got blinders on where they get so dedicated and so focused that they will push through anything, and they won't even see these other things like falling apart around them. And then you cannot expect the coach to be the one to step in either, because, you know, like I talked about before, like let the coaches coach, and that's important. But at the same time, like these people are so focused, all they're telling the coach is everything's great. I feel awesome. I can keep going for another show, another month, another few months. And they don't see what's actually going on in their life. So it's very important for you to kind of keep an eye on that and just keep an eye on your person and make sure there's no serious health impacts. They're not, like she said, losing their job. Like their life's not falling apart around them. And you might have to have the conversation like, hey, sweetheart, we had this agreement before, and you said that if X, Y, and Z happened, we were going to call it. And I think we've reached that point. I think this has gone too far. Because remember, after prep and after this season, you've got to have a life to go back to.
Life.
Like your friends and all of those things that, you know, you for a small period of time, you don't have that balance to get to this level of leanness, but you're going to go back to a normal life after, and it's got to be there for you. Okay. So you've made it through however many weeks of prep. Now, tip number 9 is be ready for show day.
It's show day.
It's show day. The first things first, like, know what's going on. If you can, go to a show like with your person sitting next to you, so you can see it, you can see what's happening, you can talk about it, so you kind of know what to expect on show day. Like, if you go having never been to a show, it's going to be a little bit overwhelming. You're going to be like, wait a minute, what's prejudging? Why are we doing this? Why is there a break in between? Why can't we go home? I thought we were done with this. What do you mean I got to be here till 11 o'clock at night, like at the awards thing? So there's a lot to it, just knowing what to expect. So that's really the big thing is if you can go beforehand so you know what to expect. And then you'll see the things that you need. Like, you need to be the person really in charge of a lot of stuff. So bikinis don't have pockets. That's one thing. So like phones, wallets, all these random things, like you might be the one holding on to those things. So like have a bag. There's like, have a little go bag with like whatever it is, like you might need their snacks or their water or whatever it is. Like, it's like, imagine you're a chaperone for a field trip with a small child. That's basically like what this is. So be prepared for that. Like, have all that stuff. And there's a lot of other little things too. Like, don't wear your favorite like white shirt, because that's going to get destroyed when they go to give you a hug after and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, the tan is very dark.
Know what you're getting into. And again, be a part of the process. Like we talked about with the prep brain thing, like have those checklists and help them with their checklists and their alarms and the meals, and remind them like, hey, you haven't eaten in a couple, like, isn't it time that you're supposed to eat though? So be on board with that and help them out through there so that you can then enjoy the show and ensure success for your person.
Yeah, as a competitor, I am pretty good about having a show day checklist. I even have a show day bag, and I go through everything that I need to bring with me. But I myself sometimes forget a few things, and I cannot tell you how many times I bring my little roll-on suitcase with me. I have everything. I got my snacks, and I'm like, where's my number, or where's my like my ID, so those are little things that I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot those. But just share with your person your checklist to make sure that everything's on point and that you have specific places that you put things on, because again, the excitement of the day might just kind of throw you off for a loop. But if you're organized and prepare in advance, like, prepare for success.
And what happens when your person goes on stage?
Oh yeah, when they go on stage, again, you are biased that they're the best one on stage, right? So as a cheer person or a cheer mom, because that's going to be your new title, you want to encourage them. They're going to recognize your voice. So you can scream their name, because the judges only know their number. So you can scream their name, say, yeah, go for it, woo. But remember, you're not the only cheer mom out there. Somebody that is up there with your person is sitting next to you, like you're sitting next to somebody's family member. So don't be that person that goes, and it's filming a live or something like that, and says to the person next to them, that girl looks like shit. That could be their mom, okay? So be respectful. Everybody up there deserves to be up there. You don't know what everybody on stage went through that day, so be respectful. And again, be encouraging, but don't worry about everybody else. Focus on your person and just be there for them.
Yeah, and be a professional too, because if you don't want to be the person that every time they don't make first call outs, like you make a scene and then you're in a bad mood and they get off the stage and they're like happy with their performance and everything, and you're sitting there like, let's go, like grab your stuff, we're out of here. This is garbage. Like, don't be that person. Like, don't do that. And what helped for me, it is hard. Like, everyone wants to win, right?
Yeah.
And with your person that you love, you want them to win.
And you just saw them go through all of this.
And you saw them go through it, and you think that they deserve it. But you have to kind of separate the results of the competition from what they've actually done. So that's the big thing, is just don't measure your success and all of that stuff on where you place. Like, just focus on, hey, you looked so great up there. Your posing routine was awesome. Just focus on the things that you can control and don't worry about the rest. And you don't stand out in the crowd, like yell, be excited, but don't be obnoxious.
Or scream like, oh, you're going to win this thing, when you're like in the far
fourth call out.
Yeah, their fourth call out. Yeah, don't be that person.
So tip number 10 is be proud. I think with the exception of not touching their food, this is the most important tip, because what they have done, if they make it through a prep and get on stage, they have shown discipline that few people in the world can understand. They have done something that many people would never, ever be able to do or have the guts to do, and get up on stage in a bikini in front of a bunch of people and subject themselves to judging. Like, that is a huge thing. Like, we normalize it because we have a lot of friends that do it and we see it and we do all that every day, but it is a huge deal to take your physique to the absolute limits of what it's capable of and to go up there and do it. So be proud. Like, let your person know how proud you are of them, that they, you know, they're going to inspire you, and let them know that, because that's going to fuel their fire, and that's going to make it feel worth it for them when they've accomplished something great and you recognize that and you let them know what a big deal it is. And you know, that's why I love really sharing this journey on YouTube with you too, is it's like your comments and all this stuff of showing your person how much she inspires you and all that stuff. Like, that's what matters with all of this. You know what I mean? The placings, all that stuff, like, that's great.
Cherry on the...
Yeah, that's cool. But what really matters is going out there and trying to inspire others and doing your best. And just keep that in mind. That's the main thing in all of this, and keep that the main thing.
So time for my bonus tip. He gave you 10, I'm going to give you 1. So because your person has given you so much of them, they have given you all the support through your competition season. Take turns. George and I have done a really good job at taking turns. And for example, he has supported me for 4 back-to-back competition seasons. And I was like, okay, it's been way too long. So let me take an off season. And during that improvement season, yes, I was focusing on my own goals, but when you're in an improvement season, you have more calories, you have a little bit more flexibility, your brain is working 110%. So I really wanted to get back to him, and I was like, you know what? This is the time for you to go and do your dreams, your passion, go for what you want. And George really took advantage of this time, and he did it all. He was doing marathons, he was doing triathlons, he was doing CrossFit competitions. We were traveling left and right. But you know what? I wanted to be the biggest cheer bomb for him, because he has been the best for me, you know? And I wanted to be there every single step of the way with him. I was prepping his food. I was making sure that he was fuel. I was the one keeping checklists. And it was really fun to swap roles and, you know, feel what he feels when I go on stage. I was taking the pictures and the videos, and it was really cool to give back to him just a small fraction of what he's given to me. And it's a really cool bonding experience, and I feel like it just makes us even stronger as a couple, because we can appreciate each other so much more, and like each other's, you know, hopes and dreams. And it's so important, like, to give back to them. So that was really fun. So we're flipping the switch back to me this year, but I can't wait to do it all over again with him, because that was really fun to kind of like take the back seat and let him like shine. It was really fun.
We really hope you enjoyed these 10 tips and that you can use them to better support your person in whatever it is that they're going through.
It is giveaway time. Here are my last week's giveaway winners. You guys got some amazing mystery boxes that I put together myself, and they're so good. They have some of my favorite items. So if you want to be entered in this week's giveaway, which we are giving away 2 lean vegan protein powders of their new flavor from Live Body, and it's double chocolate chip. So good. I tried it in December, and I cannot wait for you guys to try it. So if you want to be entered for this week's giveaway, all you have to do is
just leave a comment below about your best tip for supporting your person. So what we want is this video and all the comments you provide to be a resource for someone that you can share. Like, you're about to start prep, send this video to your person or all your persons that support you, and then they'll learn all of the stuff. And I can't wait to see the comments to see how I can better support Natalie as her person. So leave those comments. I'll be in there reading them.
Like the video.
Like the video.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.